It feels kind of strange right now because we had a 4-goal win, which was nice. The game was over in the first 15 minutes, and yet I'm feeling a little unsatisfied. Is that crazy? First thing that I want to say is a massive congratulations to Sam Docherty. Ended his career, obviously not with the result that he nor Carlton would have wanted, but with what he's gone through, losing his dad so early in his career, of course, the 3 ACLs, the cancer journey that he went on. That goal that he kicked against Richmond in round 1 was an unbelievable moment. One of those moments where you could hear the crowd through the TV in a way that you just don't see in enough AFL moments. That was unbelievable. What a fantastic player he has been, and for whatever the future holds, whether it's in footy, out of footy, whatever it is, I wish Sam all the best. Now, to the biased Hawthorn stuff. The first 20 minutes was possibly the sexiest footy I've seen Hawthorn play in a while. This had 2015 semi-final against Adelaide kind of vibes to it, where we put them to the sword. Jordan Lewis, that unbelievable goal on quarter time in the pocket at the G, to have us be on the same score as the 1989 grand final, that 8-3-51. But from there, it turned into we did enough and they didn't. And that's kind of about it, to be honest. That was what was so strange about this. Now, there are plenty of positives to come out of this. I'm not going to deny that for a moment, and I am going to discuss them. But this, I don't know. I think there's a flatness almost, because I do understand the notion of, well, if we do this again against the Crows, they're going to destroy us. Now, I don't think the Crows are going to let us do what Carlton let us do in the first 20 minutes that effectively allowed us to switch off. The Crows aren't going to let us do that. I'm actually not as worried about how we're going to play. I'm just worried about the fact that we might not win. If we're at our best, sure, but if Adelaide are at their best, good luck. And for two, relatively high-scoring teams or offensively gifted teams, this is also going to be two of the most gifted back halves in the competition. So no matter what the conditions are, I don't think that's going to be the highest scoring of games, although now that I've said that, load up on the over, I suppose. But the ball movement, the handballing, Carlton's pressure was terrible, but the way that the forward line competed, the conversation around does Marby or Chol come back into the side is going to be a fruitful one. I don't think we are going to have him not be in the side for the rest of the year. If all 4 of them are fit, though, the conversation can really be made about what can we handle second ruck-wise. Is it going to be Kelshaw, depending on who we do play in a final? Like if you're playing a Gold Coast or an Adelaide or something like that, depending on their makeup, could you get away with not having Mabs there? Potentially. But at the moment, depth is a nice problem to have. So Kelshaw, a couple of you in the comments last week were like, Daz, where's your Kelshaw love? It's here. It is right here. The hanger was a good grab. It's not Mark of the Year, although I actually can't think of what Mark of the Year would be. So sure, let's give it to him. 2 goals, he could, all 3, I reckon, tools tonight could have, under better circumstances, kicked 6. Unfortunately, they didn't. I think they ended up with 7 goals, 4 off the top of my head, 7 goals, 5, something like that. So, hey, you'll take it. Kicked more than half our score. Nothing wrong with that in the slightest, by the way. But the way that they moved tonight was excellent. I loved it in a big way. Mitch Lewis, that reaction though, if you're looking at a guy that is just passionate about the game and ready to really propel himself into the rest of the year, that celebration I loved in a big way. Speaking of back, Wilbur, boy, 15 or 16 disposals tonight. Geez, he looked good. Now, he wasn't the cleanest. Are we going to allow him some rust because it was the first time he'd played since round 3? Hell yeah! That game against the Swans, that first half against Sydney, was still, I reckon, one of the better individual performances this year so far. That was extraordinary what he was able to put together. But obviously we give him a pass. I think the most encouraging thing about Will's game tonight was the way that he was throwing himself with the footy. There were 10-minute bursts here or there. He basically had 1 a quarter for the first 3, where it just seemed like he was in everything. That's to be expected, but he got through the full game, fully fit. Love to see it. And of course, the man back in form is the skipper. Was he perfect tonight? No, he wasn't. Was he really bloody good? Yeah, he was. Double-digit marks. Huge tick considering he'd been dropping them. Most of his kicks were really good. I actually think he kicked at 87% tonight, if my math is correct off the top of my head. So a big tick there. Love that in a big way. Tom Barras tonight was massive. Loved everything that TB did. Worth every cent. Worth the trade I proposed? No. Worth every cent we're paying him? Hell yeah. So well done to you, TB. A couple of players who had really strong first quarters that I just felt faded a little bit. Connor McDonald probably leads that pack. He was borderline BOG at quarter time. Wasn't really cited all that much coming out of the game, which is a bit of a shame, to be honest. The Wizard did some really nice things, which we like. Jarman Impey continued his form and going forward. Would have loved him to at least kick one of those. That banana from the boundary would have been elite. But there is still some rust. There are still some causes for concern. Jimmy Warple's field kicking is still not great. Jack Scrimshaw's field kicking tonight was really bad. Maybe the corridor ball, Jack, once is enough in terms of making an error. But apart from that, not a whole lot to complain about. I thought Guinea's game tonight was relatively underrated, which for someone that is talked about so much in the media, that is a little bit of a shock, to be perfectly honest. But I still am sort of circling back to my initial point that it just feels like we left a lot out there. We really did. If I could use a poker example, by the way, we kind of checked on the river, with quads for some reason, and we just didn't get the full amount of chips. Now, granted, Carlton probably came in tonight with pocket sixes and nothing else on the board, so they were just running around in circles, but just feel like we could have extracted maximum value out of this game. We weren't able to do that. If that's your biggest complaint, though, you're kind of in a pretty good spot, to be honest. But I think we didn't even gain a percentage point tonight, which is going to suck. And considering that we're going to have to win at least one of Adelaide on the road next week, Collingwood at the G, and Brisbane at the Gabba, with, of course, the fourth game being Melbourne, which you suspect we would go in favourites to win. Not saying we are going to or we're morals, but if we do win that, and I really think we are, then we've just got to pinch one more. I don't think you're going to end up ninth on the ladder with 15 wins. The Corks are currently on 13, if my memory serves me correctly. So a good enough win, a bloody brilliant first quarter, and a little bit concerning. John Newcomb getting subbed off was interesting. We ended up minus 16 in the clearances tonight, and it showed. We better not have those numbers next week, but also this is why you don't play Will Day in the twos, because we're going to go over to Adelaide. We're going to look at Jordan Dawson. We're going to look at Jake Saligo. We're going to look at Isaac Rankin when he rolls through there. We're going to look at Matt Crouch potentially. And we are going to need a fully fit and firing midfield to do that. Josh Ward tonight I thought was our best midfielder by a mile. So, look, a non-rusty or the least rusty as possible as we could get. Will Day, Josh Ward in there. Jai, effectively fresh because he got subbed out. Yep, not bad. I like it. And weirdly enough tonight, Lloyd had more trouble with Pitt and Net than he did with De Koning, which is strange, but I thought that was relatively interesting. And yeah, I don't really think there's any much more to say at the moment. If we had a doubled the margin, which I know sounds crazy, but if you come away with this with an 8-goal win instead of a 4-goal win, I think we're 95% positive, rather than 65 that I'm feeling right now. But let's get to the MVP votes, and I'm giving Sis the 5. I thought he was genuinely fantastic tonight. Cole Shadir, 2 goals, 2, doesn't sound like a lot, but geez, he played well, slotting him into the 4. My man Dylan Moore, the last 2 weeks, he's had nearly 60 disposals. My God, he's back. Dill is back, which we love. Gunners as well, getting in there for a vote. Josh Ward gets some love. Also, a couple of players stiff as well. I thought for his positioning, Massimo was really good tonight. Stiff to miss. Tommy Barris stiff to miss as well. Jar's pretty stiff to miss. Also, so at the end of the day, we go into another weekend with a win, which we love. We're going to finish the round in the 8. It is what it is, and we look forward to the rest of the weekend, hopefully with some pretty good footy. Doubleheader tomorrow, which is dumb, is what it is. So, hope you enjoyed the video. I apologise to all the neutrals out there who had to cop another dud on the fixture. Not our fault, as in Hawthorn fans. A little bit more Carlton's fault than ours, but we should have put the foot on the throat, I thought. So, comment your thoughts. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to join the Daz Talks Footy family. I'm getting out of here because I barely slept this week, and I'd like to at some point. I'm going to give it a go this evening. I'll let you know how that goes. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Tune back in for more Daz Talks Footy content, even if you are a